सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। After having given the example of the chariot and the charioteer, giving the relevance of how having a good trained horse takes the chariot safely. Similarly, a good disciplined organs of perception action, the mind being guided by, controlled by the intellect, it takes us safely in the path of sadhana. Just like the good charioteer with the good trained horses takes us to the destination. Therefore, the application of this particular example, it concluded yesterday, wherein we saw that the organs of perception action should be merged into the mind into the intellect into the totality, and the totality into the avyakta prakriti, and that prakriti into the Brahman. Now, when the sequence is given, it is not that we now clap and give sabashi to the Guru saying, Acha logic bola. What do we do next? So that is given immediately in the 14th mantra, page 177. Uttishthata Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodhata Kshurasya Dhara Nishita Duratyaya Durgam Patastat Kavayo Vadanti. This is the famous inspiration for Swami Vivekananda. The first two words, Uttishtata Jagrata, arise and awake. He continued it saying, stop not till the goal is reached. And it became the call for the entire nation. Very inspiring statement. So that, just like Bhagavan Krishna took most of the mantras from Kathopanishad into Bhagavad Gita, seems to be the inspiration for Swami Vivekananda as well. Uttishtata, arise. Jagrata, awake. Prapya Varan, having chosen the most choicest one. Nibodhata, having made that choice, now come to realize it. Then he says, this path that one chooses, path of turning our attention within and growing within, understanding, assimilating and abiding in and as the self. How is it? Kshurasya Dhara. It is like walking on the sword's edge, razor's edge. Kshurasya Dhara. Therefore it is Nishita Duratyaya. How is the Dhara? See, many people on the street sides, they also do such tricks. They have a seeming sword and they seem to be walking on it, beating their chest with it. but it is usually a blunt knife. No, this is Nishita. Nishita, very, very sharp. A very beautiful name. Nishita, sharp. Duratyaya. Duratyaya, very, very difficult. This path is like walking on a sharp razor's edge and very slippery, very difficult. We'll come to it as to why and how. Durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. Very difficult, very hard to tread on this path. Durgam. Kavayaha vadanti. Kavayaha Munina of the great rishis have thus declared and warned the students. Now let's go into the deeper meaning of it. Arise, awake. The first time when I heard it, the logic that the Upanishad is looking into is very, very practical, very, very pragmatic. Most of us, when we wake up, we still try to roll on the bed half asleep. It's only after 2 to 5 minutes minimum. It can extend any longer. Minimum. Then slowly wake up. So the Upanishad is saying, arise, then get off the bed. Then awaken yourself to the waking world. Similarly, the spiritual slumber, one has to recognize to arise from it. Then starts the knowing, understanding, where exactly am I caught up in. See, most of us have different kinds of experiences. And whenever there is pain, whenever there is turbulence in life, various kinds of turbulences, each one of us goes through it. That which jolts our waking reality. You have been deceived. It hurts. You have lost everything that you hold. Almost like a cinematic problem. In the cinemas, usually the hero has a ailing mother, a drunk father, two sisters to get married, highly educated, no job. Seems like all problems on his plate only. And on the top of it, there is also an allegation, so the police is searching for him. A typical movie plot. But that is not far from reality either. When troubles come in plenty. It comes as a flood. And it doesn't seem to stop. So whenever difficulties come, how do we face it? Gurudev gives a very beautiful example. He says, whenever a blade has to be sharpened, it is not on a soft surface. It is always on the polishing stone, which is very rough. It's almost from the 100 count to the 10,000 count. You start from the roughest in the earlier days, every so often, at least once a year, in our nearby village or in our town, in our street, there would be one fellow that would come with a grinding stone on a cycle, and he would advertise himself. Everybody would rush from their kitchen with their astra shastra to be sharpened. Oh, now also. Most of these professions have been taken over by the conglomerates of these small time vendors. You seldom see. Their jobs have been snatched away. Glad that it is now also. So what does he do? If you take that blade perpendicular to that circling surface, what will happen to the blade? You can dance on it. After it goes through that process, you can literally dance on it. Why? It has become blunt. That is how we are engaging ourselves in this world. Direct nosedive into the world, rough surface of the world of experience, tattered and battered by the experiences. There should be a artful, skillful approach. That whenever there is problems in life, you don't take a nosedive at it, but the angle of approach has to be understood. See, even in cricket, these days, earlier when we used to watch as children, the max speed must have been about 110, 115 kilometers per hour. Today, when the balls are being thrown at, it is like minimum 135 to 160. And even B or C class players, when you try facing them, it is not more than 80 kilometers per hour. Even those balls, you see the ball and then you only hear the ball pass by. Even before you can react, it is already gone. Now imagine 150, 160. Now what is the skill? There also it is the angle of approach. With what angle do you place it so that it beats all the players that are there? There is one throwing, one standing behind the wicket. Apart from this, there are 9 other players. Now your job is to place it in such a good placement that you can score something in between, running or to the boundary. So one has to keep the map of ever-changing setup. It has to be visually very clear to you. And then by reflex, you have to place the ball. Angle of contact. The approach should be very, very meticulous. Sometimes the best, these are called strokes. Sometimes, of all these strokes, the one that I think requires a higher skill, a higher control, a higher vigilant approach, that stroke is called well left. Wherein it seems to be cutting in, but then as it pitches, it leaves the bat. Once you realize that that is the ball that is going on an outswing, it's on the seam going outswing. You know in your map that there is a wicket keeper, then there is a first slip, there is a second slip, there is a gully. Even if by mistake you nick, you have already taken the position, you are committed to it, but then you see the ball swinging away. Having raised the ball, creating the momentum, the ability to stop yourself and not attempt the ball, let it go. A lot of control is required. Otherwise, once we take a swing, it is difficult to stop at that point. Having taken that, then to stop it, you require immense reading, immense control, immense understanding of that game. Angle of approach. Similarly, in life, when the experiences are rough in approach, cannot avoid it. We don't have a choice. We will be dragged through it. That is prarabdha. But what is the angle of approach to it? That choice I have. Therefore, that saying where it says, going through life and coming on the other side of the experience, to be bitter or to be better, that is where the choice comes into picture. We can come out bitter. World is so, terrible. Nobody understands. And all different kinds of inferiority, superiority, lack of confidence, everything starts developing. But then, how I approach to that? What is the angle? Now, what is the angle that the person who is sharpening the blade approaches? Anywhere between 8 to 12 degrees. It is slanted. And with that, when you approach, even on the blade, there are 2 points. One is the 1 mm thickness or 1 mm width on the just under the sharpness of the blade. It has to taper down towards the sharpness. And then the finer sharpness has to be a more critical angle with which you approach. So the rough cuts are made to that 1 mm, and then very diligently on the tip. After having done that, if you have gone to a traditional old time barber, they would have it would be a straight blade. Those zigzag blades came in later. Zigzag in the inside, right? So that straight blade, what would they do after having polished it? They would have a piece of leather hanging. They would swipe it up and down. What do they do for that? For the rough edges that could have been there, it is already sharpened on the stone. Now, the rough edges that may be still sticking are wiped out clean. Just like the microfiber removes all the particles, this also removes all the particles and aligns that sharpness to that tip where it just cuts through. Now, all this he has to do on that grinding stone so diligently. Similarly, when experiences come, how I face it, when terrible things happen, the rough edges of life pierce us through, cuts us through. How do I approach it? Most of us play the game of victimhood. That there is a victimizer, there is an oppressor, there is an oppressed, the victimized. And then take that around for display to get as much sympathy wave as possible. छाती पीट पीट के रोते हैं. A sense of relief, but no sense of solutions there. So when we read through Bhagavad Gita, the entire first 6 chapters were so beautifully, logically it is approached. The first and foremost concept to be understood is, it is my life. I am responsible for it, whether it is a plus or a minus or double minus. Aggravatingly horrible is the experience. I am responsible for what is happening. Therefore, I am responsible, I alone am responsible of how to face it. And the beauty is these experiences is not once in a lifetime either. If I don't know how to approach it and fail, the experiences seem to be repeating themselves. Therefore, we hear people cry, why does this happen to me always? The benevolence of the nature's law that it keeps giving us another opportunity at it. And at that point, when there is an opportunity, my own earlier experiences should teach me, if I have not learnt it enough through observation of others going through similar experiences, at least my own experiences should teach. What should it teach? What should be the perspective? Is the ownership and the understanding that I alone am responsible for all the experiences that I am going through, how I face it, and how I evaluate it. No one else is responsible. Stopping the question, why is this happening, is redundant. This is happening. Drop the why. This is happening, and it is a statement of fact. Now, once you have understood this is happening, one has to wake up. Wake up to find solutions. But instead of finding solutions, we get trapped in the loop of repeating the same thought, same emotion again and again, feeling bad. Ayyo, why is this happening? Ayyo Rama, why is this happening again? I don't know, my stars are not aligned. My this is not there, that is not there. Blame game. Blame game of whoever is accessibly the weakest link in our relation. Blame that fellow, blame that environment, blame that situation, and not take the ownership of facing it. Wake up. If I do not train myself to face life as it comes, no one else can help. Even if those that want to help can help to that person who has taken that responsibility and now wants to put effort to grow out of it. Otherwise, the one who is trying to help is seen as the villain in life. The individual has to be ready for it. Has to understand that it is now my responsibility to try grow out of this situation. Each one of us have a similar set of experiences that one has to go through. There will be those trials in life, but that should also be a wake-up call. Wake-up call not just about how to face it, but to come to understanding what exactly is the very purpose of me, my life, my living. Is this all? Because trouble seem to come, I face it, and then move to a lull period, then try to again go indulge, then again some trouble comes, again some firefighting happens. Whole life long I have been doing a similar pattern again and again and again. Is there a meaning? Is there a purpose? Is there something more sublime to this life and living? That inquisitiveness has to be born. That is why when Tulsidas ji gets scolded by his wife, arguments happen between any two people. When they are working closely, arguments happen. And when that argument happens between him and his wife gives him a earful and ends that dialogue by saying that that much of interest which you are showing on me, even an ounce of it, if you show it to that Rama that you dedicatedly speak about, he would himself give you darshan. What a waste of your life. Everybody gets scolded. And what do we do? Out of sight, out of mind. We just dust it off. దులిపేసుకొని జరిగిపోతుంటుంది. Right? He went out of that house, sat down, and started evaluating. She is right. She is right in giving me that guidance. Now I should follow it through. And that is when he dedicates his life for the very purpose for which he was born. Each one of us have gone through several such experiences. The question is, are we ready to wake up? But for waking up, do I have enough stamina and backbone to stand up? Uttishtata. Enough is enough. I have to make a credible change in my life. When? How? That is Jagrata. Jagrata, to awaken oneself to the higher aspect of our living. Enough of baser way of life. Then Prapya Varan. Here Varan is defined by several commentators with several meanings. Two most beautiful ones is you now recognize there is something divine in this world and I have to reach to that divinity. Varan, the most choicest one. Another meaning which Bhagavan Shankaracharya gives is that such individual who has now awakened to the various aspects of life and living, wants to be guided, has to go to the most choicest available teacher to be guided into the inner world. Prapya Varan. Varan, the teacher. The first Varan that I described was the Ishvara. The second Varan is the most probable one, is the teacher. Nibodhata, get educated. While facing the turbulences of life, how can you turn your attention within? It is not in seclusion that you try face it. While that is happening on the outside, how do you turn your attention inside so that you can grow within, stabilize within? Prapya Varan Nibodhata. And once that education happens, once we are introduced and initiated to the inner field, the inner field is, how is it? Kshurasya Dharha. Nishita Duratyaya. Seems to be very difficult to tread this path. Why is this path that difficult? The beauty here is the Upanishad is not trying to blame the seeker. The Upanishad is taking the blame on the path itself. But what actually is the difficulty? Difficulty is not the path. Difficulty is the mindset with which we walk on that path. Gurudev used to say, come to the lectures, come with the Bhagavad Gita in your hand and make sure that it is in full display as you are walking to the Yajnashala. Don't be shy carrying Bhagavad Gita. Your neighbors should be intrigued. Don't put it in a cover, don't wrap it up and then carry it hidden. Carry it bravely in your hand in full display. Your neighbors should be intrigued. ये रोज रोज लाल किताब लेके जाता कहाँ है? Some kind of awakening to be drawn even with the book that you carry. When you come to this environment and start recognizing these patterns as educated, as initiated through the Guru. Now, who is the Guru? Shrotriyancha Brahmanishtancha. The one who himself is quite adept, educated in this particular field, and that which is educated upon is not just Swanubhuti, it has to have the backing of Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhuti. Shruti, the scripture. Yukti, that scripture is being laid out in a beautiful, structured reasoning. That reasoning has to be understood in all its subtleties. And then translated into Swanubhuti. Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti. So this teacher is the one who has studied, self-evaluated Swadhyaya, and now stands at that sacred platform of realizing one's own self. Nitya Brahmanu Chintanam. So that Guru, when personalizes this knowledge, this technique to each individual, because each one of us come with a different background. And how should the student approach? Pariprashnena sevaya. कपड़े धो के सेवया, खाना पका के सेवया नहीं बोला है. वो सब भी कर सकते हैं. But that is not the goal. When you approach the teacher, you should approach with the questioning inquisitiveness. And the questioning also should be such that you have processed, you may not have the understanding of the answer, but at least we should be clear about what we are not clear. It cannot be a vague questioning because somebody is freely available. You keep asking all kinds of things. In one of the, I think, Gurudev's Jnana Yajna, there was a question answer session. This is in US. So somebody asked a question which is so trivial. So Gurudev looks at him and he says, I have not taken the responsibility for all your stupid, silly questions. Go process it, evaluate it, and then if you think it is worthy of being asked, then come back. It is not I say, I mean, पूछ लिया question. When Nachiketa asked, his question itself had such depth and clarity, which gives the complete idea to the one who is to answer कि भाई इसने अच्छी दिल लगाकर प्रोसेस करके इस क्वेश्चन तक पहुंचा है. He is not coming from vagueness, he is coming from precision of what he is not understanding. Even that which is vague, it's nothing wrong to ask. But don't be shy to ask. Without asking, there cannot be knowing. Without knowing, there cannot be being. Pariprashnena sevaya. Thoroughly analyzed, evaluated questions. Come with them. Because in Hinduism, we do not believe in any dogma. It is not a dogmatic religion. Thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt. There are no commandments. There are guidelines given. And every single step of the way, there is a logic, reasoning, approachable methods taken. Not just because Shruti says it, therefore you do it. Therefore, nobody can blame the Sanatana Hindu way of life as Andha Vishwasa, a blind belief. It gives the student enough room and scope to evaluate every single statement made by the Shruti. Understand it, then come to believe it, then create the room for Shraddha, and with that Shraddha, apply it in your life. Pariprashnena sevaya. But in all these initial steps, the challenge to walk on this path, why it is so difficult, Duratyaya, is my own mind, my own wrong convictions of my intellect. I am so addicted to it, I am so attached to it, that even if a logic is provided, I am not ready to let go. For all these many years that we have lived, we have heard even Gurudev, we have heard several other Mahatmas, several other sadhus and sannyasis. One statement that they often make: you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect. We have even written songs on it. Gopal Bhaiya ke songs. English, Hindi, Sanskritam, we have all songs. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham. You are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect. We have heard it. And yet, where are we? We behave, we function, we evaluate as the body, as the mind, as the intellect. We are not yet convinced. There is a wow moment when we hear it. There is an understanding that happens, but that understanding to translate into our own life experience, how committed am I? Commitment comes into picture only when there is conviction, and the conviction comes only when there is clarity. With clarity comes the urgency to walk on this path. Now what happens? The student, inspired by the words of the Shruti, starts the process, starts the steps, but then for various reasons of laziness, lethargy, lack of discipline, lack of commitment, or something happens and the routine breaks and you do not pull yourself to come back into that routine again. It takes ages to come back to that routine again. We hear so many people, oh yeah, I have heard Gurudev in 1960, 1970, 1980. बाद में क्या हुआ? वो तो तर चुके थे, बोल चुके थे, तो हो चुका है. आपका क्या? Then we become another trap is we become professional satsangi. Because we have heard, Binu satsanga viveka no hoi. Without satsanga there is no viveka. So therefore, religiously we go to all pravachanakaras, wherever it is happening, sit down, enjoy, come back. Earlier I used to enjoy laddu jalebi. Now I am enjoying satsang. It has become a bhoga vastu not yoga vastu. Imagine the trick of the mind, that which is supposed to be the very stepping stone, the foundation stone for us to liberate ourselves, we have transformed that also into a vyavahara, because that also has become bhoga. आज लेक्चर में मजा आया. एक लड्डू था क्या? See, when there is an inspiring words of wisdom that we hear, the enjoyment is not the criteria. The tatparata that is born, that is the criteria. The urgency. Arre bapre, I now should dedicate, make this as the priority. If that doesn't happen, then the satsanga has not generated enough viveka. Or my mind has refused to generate that viveka. For all the above said reasons, what happens? Even though Shruti, Ishvara and the Guru Krupa has happened, Atma Krupa has not happened. What does the intellect then decide? Oh Swamiji, I have tried all of this. Been there, done that. कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ. No change at all. We get disenchanted with the path itself. Therefore, the path becomes slippery. The path becomes difficult. Why? I am not applying myself into that path. Though there is Ishvara, Guru and Shruti Kripa, I am not providing that room for myself to grow. It's a very serious issue for a seeker. Whatever I have heard in Bhagavatam, in the very first 6 chapters, is called Mahatmya. There is the story of Dhundukari. Name भी बड़ा भयंकर name है. Dhundukari. He does all terrible things, that he gets killed, and now he is in the Preta Yoni, Bhoot ban ke baitha hua hai. His brother, his name is Gokarna. He takes to the path of inner world, does good swadhyaya, adhyayana, abhyasa, and then when he comes back home, there is nobody at home because everybody is done. The last one that was there, that was his brother Dhundukari. He is also now hanging in there as a Bhuta Yoni, Preta Yoni. So to redeem him from that Preta Yoni, he asks several wise people, and they said, do Bhagavat Katha Saptah. After the Bhagavat Katha is done, the Vishnu Parshad has come, Dhundukari is liberated, he is taken to the other world. There, Gokarna is surprised. He says, so many people have come, everybody has heard. Why is it that only his hearing gives him moksha? Then the Vishnu Parshadas say something very, very important. They say, Shravanam tu sarve kritam. Mananam tu nata kritam. Nobody has taken it to the next step. Whereas your brother, Mananat Tatparat Nididhyasana kritam. And in 7 days from Preta Yoni, not even in Manushya Yoni, from Preta Yoni he is liberated. Meaning what? After Shravana is done, Manana is an important step. What does Manana mean? A comprehensive assimilation of all that which is heard as an application in my day-to-day life. See, whenever we shift from point A to point B, the whole family, house, everything has been transferred to a newer location. Before I settle down into that newer location, do I just go कहीं पे भी घर मिल गया जाके रह लिए? My office is in Patancheru. My children's school is in Secunderabad. I have taken the house in Vanasthalipuram. क्यों? वहां पे घर मिल गया. What do? You first create a zone. And the highest priority is बच्चों का school. Best of the school that I can afford. Now once that is zeroed in, 3-4 schools, and then the locality around it. Even in that locality, a safe locality, convenient locality. You are not in some kind of a remoteness, inaccessible, that you have to cross a nadi, a forest, and then come to the livelihood. Right? Then you see how far is the grocery store. After the children is done, how far is the grocery? How far is the vegetable vendor? How far is the other amenities provided? How accessible is it? How accessible is it to the main road? How close is it to my next is the job? So many angles that which is, then finally comes affordability. What range can I afford? Is it safe? And if your transfer is happening immediately and you don't have that kind of a time, you take a temporary residence and then try finding it, then move into that all evaluated space to live in. ऐसा नहीं कि हम लोग comprehensive thinking नहीं करते हैं. I just gave you an example. That when we move from point A to point B, we make a comprehensive study and look into various aspects of applicability, then make the shift. Similarly, when I hear all this Vedanta Tattva, how clear have I been as to what are the various applications of it in my own day-to-day life? At the body level, at the mind level, at the intellectual level. How sattvic is it? How rajasic is it? How tamasic is it? If it is in this tamasic, have I been honest to myself? Honesty is honesty to oneself is a key here. That self-evaluation has to happen. Without that self-evaluation, we get into because we are addicted to the field of action, we think sadhana also is another action. स्वामी जी कुछ करने के लिए दीजिए, जीनी की तरह. Do mantra japa. Ha, done. Now what next to do? Do the manana. It is not about the quantity of process that you are engaged in. It is the quality of the process that you are engaged in. How do I decipher all that which I hear and where it applies, and meticulously I look at it, vigilantly I apply it. There will be ups and downs. I will fall, I will fail, I will have to pick myself up. And in the first initial few days of my efforts of my self-evaluation, if you are being honest with yourself, I will disgust myself maximum. I will be scared of investigating into myself. Because so much to repair. Bapre. I didn't realize I have these many. scary. Then what you do? Then you reprioritize it and then look at what is the highest thing that troubles me, how do I tackle it, one by one, layer by layer, layer by layer, I work on myself. Just like the sculptor, when he takes the raw stone, he has a visual image of what he is trying to make out of it. Initially, larger chunks are being chiseled out. Once the larger chunks are removed, then the finer pieces are being carefully chiseled. See, one mistake, it is not like a pencil and paper. You draw, the line goes a little crooked, you take a eraser and start rubbing it out and then retry. This is one stroke, the important piece has been broken. Then it doesn't serve the purpose. So therefore, very cautiously, very vigilantly chisels out the next layer of pieces. Akriti has been created. Now if you're looking at it from the stone's perspective, ऐसा मारे जा रहा है, मारे जा रहा है, मारे जा रहा है, रोकने का नाम ले ले रहा है. Then when he is finally stopped because there is a shape, you think it is done? No. Now comes the finer chisel and into the crevices as much as he can chisel out. Then takes the sanding paper. Nowadays, so they have those electronic tools where you put the sanding paper and go into those crevices and remove all the excess, polish it, give it that shape, give it that shade, give it that shine. Slowly work towards. Similarly, in our own persona, what are the larger chunks that have to be dropped? Unnecessary things which I have prioritized. How do I drop? Why do I drop? Is there any necessity to drop it? One good key to evaluate is how best can I survive with how minimum? How best can I survive with a minimum? A minimalistic approach. How many clothes? How many shoes? How many, whatever. How less can I manage my life with? For various things that I have, what is the necessity? You may have all the opulence to buy the entire world, but is it necessary? What is necessary? What is required? Viveka starts from that layer. Having done evaluation there, when I start coming slowly to the subtle part of the path, then Atma Anatma Vivechanam becomes easier. What do? That externality is not touched. That comfort, that opulence, that excess still exists. That attachment is not gone. How will this attachment go? Therefore, the path seems to be difficult for that individual. Just like how the sculptor has to chisel very carefully, we also have to be very careful to chisel it out that it does not regress into some depressive mode. That you have yanked something which is supporting without proper detachment, and then internally there is a pressure, internally there is a craving, but externally you now have the understanding that I have to delete it. Have you deleted it with the understanding? There's so many who lose their sense of balance because they're not evaluating it properly. I know of a seeker because his eyes were getting into distracting him with constant craving for seeing beautiful things, beautiful people, and getting attached, and was listening to satsanga. Therefore, guilt ridden, one fine day with frustration, he just poked his eyes कि मुझे दुनिया नहीं देखनी चाहिए. क्या बेवकूफी है. And we take to such severe extremities which are not even sadhana. In Kumbh Mela and other places, you will see such. There is a person who I saw was having his hand up. Ek Hati Baba. And he has been having it like that for last several years. This joint has now frozen. He cannot put his hand down. What is the purpose of that sadhana? Anything meaningful? There are people that sleep on thorn beds. Why? No comfort. Ati sarvatra varjayet. Adi Shankaracharya ji covers this beautifully in Bhajagovindam. Agre vanhi prishte bhanuhu रात्रौ चुबुक समर्पित जानुहु. नहीं, मुझे साधना करना है. कैसी साधना? On the Hyderabad summer days, mid afternoon, sitting on the tar road with fire all around me. Why? To face the extremities. And then night, in winters, no cloth, no bed sheet, no quilt. Ratrau chubuka samarpita januhu. Is so cold that your chin is on your knees and you are bundled up. What? Sadhana kar rahe. And many people do get impressed with this kind of extremities, thinking that that is sadhana. Sadhana is not these extremities. Sadhana is to finally track that ego in all its modes and to simplify the very existence where that ego is slowly but surely nullified. Not to gain another credit. बड़ा घोर साधना करता है. Because that is what happens again in comparative notes. How many hours do you meditate? I meditate for 4 hours. I eat only one meal a day. But what is necessary? Is it necessary? All the other trivialities, they don't even matter. That's why Gurudev in Bhajagovindam says, longer the beard, higher should be your suspicion. फालतू की चीजों में पड़े रहते हैं साधना के नाम पे. And then say, I have done sadhana, nothing happened. That is when it becomes tricky. So walk this path that every step that you take is diligently put, that you don't have to withdraw that step back again. Supposing you are walking on a razor's edge. On the back it is fire, it is a valley, and now this is the only way out. Do you flippantly put your steps? Cautiously put your steps, that it doesn't cut and bleed you unnecessarily and you get across. Similarly is this path. Our mind is the trick. Our mind is the trickster. Cautiously handle it, not flippantly. Durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. Having said it, now he says, what is it that one should reach? What is it one should meditate upon? That is given in the next mantra. We will see this tomorrow. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम।